50% of the United States today doesn't take their medication on time.
Mm-hmm.
That means added hospital visits. That means unfortunate fatalities. I mean, all of the above, right? And if we can use some of our technology, experience, our designers, whatever, to just bump that half a percentage point, that's a lot of people in the United States. And I get really, really motivated by those types of stories.
Hello, welcome to No Whole Time. I'm David Ariza. Thanks for joining us.
I'm Eric Robeson.
I'm Brian Bremer.
We are three friends here / co-workers that decided to come together, and it's because we were already doing this on Monday mornings or after customer meetings or coming back from big conventions that we all enjoy going to learn about conversational AI. We'll start a tracker to make sure that we give definitions of all the shortcuts and different words that we'll use for everything. So we'll come up with that. But the reason we decided to come together and put this podcast together is that we felt most creative after these customer meetings or coming back from conventions. Brian was just at one and came together. And so we thought, what better way to record our conversations and find ways to do better, learn from each other, and then start the discourse with other people, customers, or just experts out in the field. And so this is why we decided to put this podcast together, is to record the times where we feel the most creative. And hey, what a better excuse to hang out and chat with friends than talk about what we feel passionate about in life. So, welcome to the podcast.
Why don't we jump in and introduce ourselves?
Yep.
Probably a good thing to do.
Yeah, let's do it.
Eric,
Should I
you're
start?
the only one who hasn't talked yet.
Yeah,
so
that's
you're
true.
up first.
Yeah, so Eric Robeson. I've been in this space for right around 20 years.
What space?
That's a good question. The contact center, AI, IVR, IVA space. So anything contact center, customer experience related. And I'm probably not giving myself full credit for how long I've been in this space. Now, maybe that just makes me seem like I'm old.
You're old.
But I started in call centers, taking calls way back when, and really enjoyed the experience, just interacting with customers on a daily basis, whether I'm calling them, they're calling me. And then it just became a natural evolution into digging into more of the technology side of it, learning what happens before a call arrived to me, and the magic that happens. But just really passionate about this space. Again, CX, IVA, IVR space, Bremer. But working with customers over the years, I actually had an opportunity to be a customer on the other side of the fence and really digest the technology, how we could leverage it to solve customer challenges, deliver outcomes for a business. So something I'm just really passionate about, and I'm glad now we have a chance to sit back and talk about it. Mr. Ariza.
I think before I go, I want to do Bremer,
Okay.
because it'll be a good segue into the least experienced person in conversational AI. So let's go to Bremer first and then me.
My first job besides mowing yards was in a contact center. I sat on the phones and I read a script a million miles an hour after some poor guy thought he was getting tech support for his internet.
Yep.
And I tried to sell him some marketing thing that someone said was a good deal that probably wasn't a good deal. So I lived in the contact center and got a real good appreciation for how much of a challenge that stuff is, and how delicate just small changes can interrupt a lot of folks. And so anyway, I got into that. I went to college. I got out of college and I'm like, I got to get a job. I'm tired of construction. I was doing construction back then. And so I jumped back into contact center. So I went to work for this place a long time ago. I'll just put that date out there. And grew up in a contact center operations. I started as reporting. I got to be involved in quality. I got to be involved in how do you manage the life of an agent in a program, and kind of grew up from there. And then I left for a while and ran another contact center for a startup business. And then I came back to here, and I've been working with this group for 12 years in December, building IVRs, solutioning SMS, two-way, bots is the bad term now, but two-way virtual agents and conversational stuff. Before conversational was really kind of a term. Actually, Eric's team hired me. Eric's organization hired me. And so the last few years, I've been in more of a sales and solution consulting role for the company, and get to go on the road quite a bit and talk to lots of great people doing some amazing things in customer experience. And we'll kind of keep a good definition of terms in this space, because you'll hear IVA and VA and bot and Annies and this and that. We'll try to do our best to give this podcast a little bit of definition, because I'm doubting all of you work in the life of telephony like we have. When I first started here, do you remember this book? We used to get a book of terms.
Yep.
And it was literally 7 pages of 3-letter acronyms, and we have to go figure out what CPNI was.
Yes, crash course in telephony and telecom.
And but it's all important. It's still relevant today, and we'll do our best to do it. So for those of you who don't know, IVA is Intelligent Virtual Agent, sometimes Virtual Assistant, depending on what your marketing branded has as. We grew up in IVR, which is the old interactive voice response systems, the Tell Me Payments, the Press Ones for this. And luckily, like I said, like David kind of alluded to, Eric and I have been in this business a long time.
Yeah, so you'll probably hear us use IVR and IVA interchangeably.
We screw that up a lot.
You'll hear that in the market a lot too. So IVR, IVA, AI, all of it is around self-service, automation, driving the best customer experience, allowing customers to be met where they want to be met.
Yeah, you got it. So today, instead of, the interesting thing about knowing this space is we get a chance to talk about, before the calls get to the humans. We'll talk quite a bit about the contact center too. Don't let me fool you, but we have a great understanding of what the experience is before you have to get to that level. And so that's one key thing that's we'll talk a little bit about. So how about you, David? How about your introduction?
Yeah, no, thanks, Brian. I took a different route. I've always been a big technology person. I remember thinking back to whenever I got my first computer, I installed my first burner into burn CDs myself. I was always a big technology person, but professionally I've been in UC, Unified Communications, another one, in telephony, and so always working with whatever company I was working with the largest customers. And I found that in that space, it was not a difference in technology. It was just trying to make the best financial presentation to get someone to buy in, to buy whatever that was. And so 4 years ago, our company that we all work for started investing more in AI, in conversational AI. And so I made the shift over here, and personally it's helped me a lot because it's something that I'm definitely more passionate about, and we'll get into our whys here at some point. But I felt that jumping into technology and how technology could help people and companies was something that I'm definitely passionate about. So it just took me away from crunching numbers and trying to make ROI make sense, which we definitely do in our space now, but in a more passionate way, in a way that we could help people. And so 4 years now at this point, and really excited to be working with some of the customers that I manage. And then I feel that the conventions that we go to also are more exciting because you hear more about unique ways to use technology. I feel that helps us. And again, that's why we're coming together, right? Brian was just at a convention a couple weeks ago, and I was one of his first calls when he got back. He's like, hey man, I heard about this voice biometric that could be used for so-and-so, and so many so's. That's why we're excited to do that, and why I'm excited to be in the industry, because it's just changing so quickly. We'll get into another AI development here at some point. But I think what would be good to jump into is our whys, right? Like what motivates you in the industry, or what even motivates you outside of work that helps you be more passionate about what we're doing, right?
Yeah.
I'll toss it back to you, Burmer.
Before you do that, when you said burner earlier, the first thing I thought of was you were buying burner phones.
I thought you were, yeah. I thought you were
maybe
buying-
I've watched
do you
The
guys
Wire.
remember that? You would burn CDs,
Very,
right?
Oh, yeah.
very much. I just remember I watched too much of The Wire.
Yeah.
at one
Great
point in my
show.
life. I really like this business and talking to customers because it's telephony and it's text messaging and it's some stuff that's been around a long time. It's not the Lamborghini of technology anymore, but AI is, and that's been kind of fun to get into. But the stuff that I really get kind of motivated from is the stories behind why our customers do what they do, and the fact how we can help them accomplish the goals, right? So in the healthcare space, I talk about it often. Like how do you increase medication adherence? 50% of the United States today doesn't take their medication on time.
Mm-hmm.
That means added hospital visits. That means unfortunate fatalities. I mean, all of the above, right? And if we can use some of our technology experience, our designers, whatever, to just bump that 0.5 percentage point, that's a lot of people in the United States. And I get really, really motivated by those types of stories. How do I make someone's banking experience better? No one likes to worry about money.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can help them, have a better quality of life, like that's the stuff that I really get invested into when I get in this space. How about you?
Yeah, and actually, David, during your intro and your background, you touched on something on we're not selling and supporting widgets with, here's your widget, this is the size of it, and here's what it's going to cost you. A lot of our conversations, we're not even talking about the technology.
Yep.
We're talking about challenges, outcomes, a lot of questions, a lot of digging into a day in the life of. And for us, and what always has been a passion of mine, is we talk a lot about customer experience, but it's also employee experience. I think back to when I was sitting on the phones, and I would get a repetitive call. I'll give you an example. I did technical troubleshooting for a satellite company. And a lot of the calls I would get in, it was, well, I'm getting a snowy screen, I'm getting no input. And a majority of the time, I either said, hey, can you tell me what the weather's doing? And then if it's storming, that's why you're going to have to wait it out a bit. Or my favorite one was, a lot of times, could you grab the remote and hit the input button for me? And voila, their screen came back on. They had their picture again. But I always thought, I'm like, why did I need to tell the customer that? Why did they have to wait for me to tell them something that was pretty straightforward? Mm-hmm. So when I got into the more of the upstream, the technology side, it just became kind of a natural focus of, what is that employee doing that they're questioning? Why am I doing this and not helping the customer on bigger issues, bigger challenges that automation could take care of? So that's what I've always been passionate about, is that balance of providing a great customer experience, but not forgetting about the employees that sit somewhere around, somewhere in that ecosystem, whereby impacting the customer experience in a positive way, it's also impacting the employee in a positive way.
Yeah, yeah.
About you? Why do you like this thing?
Yeah, well, one, I mentioned before, technology. The technology is moving so quickly, and Eric, you touched about it. It's not widgets. It's what creative way can you come up with that utilizes technology that's available to better serve people. And I'm lucky to be in a place where I partner with some health and mental health companies out there that are trying to support the American public and not just bringing awareness, but also getting people the right kind of help. So I get really passionate about that. I was my mom's caretaker later in her life, and that experience wasn't great because the health organizations she was going to provided terrible support. Like, the doctors were great, but outside of that, like, sometimes we needed a reminder that we needed to be at an appointment because I have a life outside of my mom's, right? And so, Brian, you talked about it, reminders, and I actually had an experience. I had my yearly checkup that was due 2 weeks ago. I didn't go because I was busy. I forgot about it, where if they would have just sent me a text message the night before, hey dude, don't forget, you have your yearly checkup tomorrow morning. I wasn't doing anything. I was at my desk doing work. And so I get passionate about using technology in a way that could help people's health. And I love the challenge of just coming up with something new that'll help somebody, and not just trying to save money, but like in this case, for saving lives.
Yeah, think about that. Think about that reminder. Not only did you miss your doctor's appointment, the doctor also missed revenue.
Right.
Like, there is, yes, the health aspect of it, but there's a lot of money with just, a 3-cent text message or whatever the cost is anymore. There's a lot there too. So let me ask another way of thinking about this too. Like, the stuff that I love, and I think I've told this story to you guys before, was I love wow moments in customer experience. Like, just the feeling of what I'm a customer, you're a customer. We all have things. We're all calling. We're all needing help. I mean, we grew up in the age of the internet, so everything was kind of right here.
Yeah.
But I like those wow moments, and so when a brand wows me, I'm there. Like, you got me for life.
I have one for you once you finish this.
Okay. So I took my 9-year-old to her first concert about a month ago. It was 115 degrees outside. It was Pink. And I'm not the biggest Pink fan. She's great. It's not my first choice in music.
You're not anti-Pink. You're just
not anti-Pink. I'm just not.
I'm
not a
fan.
Pink.
Got it.
I don't dye my hair.
He's more of a Swiftie.
Right.
That's why.
Right.
We're getting there. Go Chiefs. But I took her to the first concert, and Pink's concert was the best one I've ever been to.
Yeah.
I was wowed by it. And I sat there thinking, I'm like, man, I probably took this bar way too high for my 9-year-old. It should have took her to some, $1 cover band at some bar at some point in her life. And but I'll never forget that. Like, Pink's got me now. Like, I'm going to go every concert she's around because I know it's going to be the best show of all time. And so it's the same thing with brands. If I get a chance to get wowed by a brand, they send me something I didn't expect. They give me something I didn't expect. They understand. I talk a lot about when I go speak on panels, the idea of you know me and you remember me is so big to me. And we'll ask that question a little bit about that. But like, that stuff wows me and brings me back to, all right, I can deal with a little bit of pain because I know they're going to make it right in the end of it all. What's your example?
Well, I think even just removing the pain.
Sure.
And I had the most amazing experience unexpectedly. I have a quarterly pest service at my house, and it's preventative. I don't have like rats or anything, right? My wife is the kind of person who will see like one bug outside, and she's like, "We're overridden with stuff," and so we just do it quarterly, preventative, but. We've had some work going on at the house, and so the doors have been open and the crawl space has been open, and so we saw more activity than normal. And they have a policy that if for some reason there's a flare-up or something, you call us, we'll come out, no problem. And it's always been, hey, thank you for calling pest control. This is Mary. What's going on? And it's been great, but I hate having to talk to someone. But they always do a good job. Last week we called. We just moved back into our house, and my wife nicely, my beautiful wife, asked me nicely to call, and so I do. I call. The IVR answers and says, "Hey David, I've tracked your telephone number to your address. Is this right?" And I was like, "Yes, it is right. Thanks for calling. How can we help you?" And it's still the IVA. I say, well, I've seen some bugs, and they ask me what kind of bugs. I answer. They ask inside, outside. I answer. And they said, I can see in our schedule that we have an opening at 1 p.m. this afternoon. Is that an okay time for me to come out? And I was just like, what? Yes, amazing.
Yeah.
a pest control company, right?
Yeah.
And it's small in Charlotte, North Carolina. And I was blown away. You named it. You said it. They knew who I was.
Yeah.
They know where I lived. They let me tell them what the issue was. They got into their scheduling and booked me. It was a minute. I didn't have to wait. There was no hold time. It was beautiful. And it's just like, wow. Like, that was my... I tell you, I even called my wife and told her about it. Hey, and she's like, oh, thanks for setting that up. I'm like, no, I'm not calling you to tell you that I set it up. I want to talk to you about the experience. She's like, you're too excited about this.
Well, but that's funny you should mention that, because honestly, the bar is not that high.
Yeah.
It's, who am I? Do I already do business with you? And do you have some idea why I might be reaching out to you, whether it's a moment in time, like with, sometimes you'll call in, and if you've got a bill due, it may say, oh, are you calling because your bill's coming up? Or I see, you call an airline, hey, I see you have a flight tomorrow. You're calling about that. It's not that high of a bar to meet. Yet we still see out there, you call in, they don't know who you are. Maybe it was a simple transaction, and you end up having to go wait for an agent, and then they don't know who you are.
That's
either.
the worst.
And it's the worst. So you felt your entire experience, nothing about it was personalized. And we use technology in our everyday lives. I mean, as simple as throwing something in your calendar. David, you mentioned it. So when you have a dentist appointment or something, and they give you a card for 6 months
Isn't that
out.
crazy still?
So I immediately throw it in my calendar, because I know I'm not going to.
I've lost it by
I'm
the
going
time I
to
walked
lose
out.
that card, and who knows if they're going to let me know.
Yeah.
And I actually, talking about like personalized experiences, I just came back from Disneyland and from Universal Hollywood. I mean, we literally drove into our little facility here from vacation, and I hadn't been to Disney forever. So I had no idea how much technology advanced. And now they've got these Disney apps and Genie apps, and at first it felt really overwhelming. Like, there's so much you have to do. But once you got into it, and they knew you had these certain passes, and it showed you wait times for every one of the rides, and you knew where you could go do a fast, it made a lot of sense. It's like this, you don't have to have your kid waiting in line an hour, 2 hours every time when you see a ride is 5 minutes. And so how much technology is advanced, even though, yes, at first it can seem like this seems a lot for an amusement park. But once you start using it, it's like, how did we ever not have this? So it was, it just felt very personal. Of course, it's Disney, so they're all about the experience, and it was pretty cool to get to experience that firsthand.
I feel like we need to save some of this for later episodes.
Yeah, we probably do.
For an intro, let's cover one other thing first. As we're hoping you guys subscribe and come back and like these types of things. I'm going to ask you two, and I'll chime in too. What do you want to? I know we've talked a lot in part, but what do you really want to get out of this podcast? How do you want audiences to connect with us? What do you think is the one or two things you think are really they should take from this thing? We'll start with you, David.
Yeah, look, my thing is ideas, right? I think we all have ideas and can come up with creative ways to leverage software solutions, technology that's out there. We haven't even talked about generative AI, right? People are trying to lasso this in and figure out a way to do it. We're doing it in our personal and professional lives, but I'd love for feedback to be, hey, actually that pest control solution sounds amazing. How can I do it? Or actually, I can do this better, right? Like, I'm happy to learn and would rather have interactions with people that listen to us, like the two people that'll listen.
Hi, Mom.
How we can do things better, right? Because that's what this is about. That's what's cool, I think, and unique in our industry is as we get together with even competitors that are out there, we collaborate, try to find new ways to use it because, again, personally, I'm working with customers and partners that are doing good for others. And here's what I'd like to jump into in the next ones is what we're trying to do is help more people, help people more efficiently, and leverage people's technology in a more efficiently way as well, right? And so maybe that's something that we can jump into in our next episodes is how that happens, how we do that for other customers, or how we've seen some of our favorite brands. I have so many great examples of brands that I'm loyal to because of the customer experience. And so that's what I'd like to be able to jump into here in the future.
Yeah, I think it's about shared experiences, like the good, bad, and the ugly. Going back to what we were talking about initially on how what we get to do is different is the technology is an enabler. But what we get to talk about is the experiences that we can help and others help their customers with. So I'd love to hear ideas of whether it's a particular industry or something a company does really well. It's maybe a little bit of a secret, like, because it could be a smaller company, like a pest control company, that you just don't hear about as often. Because I think what we've found over the years is you can take one idea that seems very specific for an industry or customer, but the theme you could use across multiple industries. And it's like, wow, how could we wow customers in a similar way using like how it felt? Because a lot of times it's how it feels. When it, whether it's they know who I am, but as you're navigating and going through the journey as a customer, what were those moments in time, or those, whether it was a challenge or maybe it was you were calling about something good and it was even better than you expected. And what were those moments like? And then kind of digging into the why. And then how do we, again, use those themes, use those best practices to help others. So I don't know if we're going to talk a ton about technology. I mean, none of us are technologists by trade. None of us grew up in technology. We learned it over the years, but it made sense to us because we were able to apply it towards an experience.
Yeah, maybe we should bring one of those guys on, one of these
I think
guys
so.
or girls to this event someday too.
And they can quiz us.
They can completely destroy us.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. I think what I want to get out of it, I get the chance to talk to a lot of customers, prospects, and you're right, I get to go to a lot of conventions. I'm blessed in that regard. I like the mind share of it all.
Yeah.
Like, and sometimes those big stages, you don't have a chance to give, unless you talk to the person afterwards, like give your feedback or input or experience to some of that. So I'm going to try to use some of this to give maybe a few of my opinions on the subject, because I do think this world is big and all of us, even the guys behind the cameras, are customers. And we want everybody we interact with to be better. And and not only is technology pushing it that way, but we're all as customers pushing it that way. And I hope maybe there's someone out there will hear this and go, oh, we should try something like that, or we should think about it a little bit differently. I think that's the goal of this thing.
Yep.
Before we wrap, any last notes? Any last questions? Any surprises?
Yeah, I think here, before we run out of time, I think one thing I have for you, I think this will set the stage for more conversations in the future, right? We talked about positive and hints of negative, but like ideally, this is a curveball, what is your ideal interaction with, as a customer, what is your ideal interaction with that company look like?
Problem or not problem?
Well, that's part of the genesis, right? Why you're never going to call a company for a good reason, right? Unless
you're upgrading,
right? Unless you're calling to upgrade, right?
It's got a point.
You never call or look up a website unless you're just trying to buy something. But if you're trying to buy something, you shouldn't have to speak with anyone.
Yep.
Right?
Someone called it a defect. If there's a defect, that's the typical reason why you're calling.
Right.
I like that topic when I use it.
So take that. It's rarely going to be a good thing.
Hey, good job, guys. Thanks for letting me wait on hold.
Right.
Yeah,
Hey,
exactly.
my experience booking my pest control was so great that I decided to call you back to tell you about it, right? So that's the question.
Okay.
Eric.
Know who I am, quick and easy. So I want to get in and get out as fast as possible. I always try to. I'm a self-service kind of guy.
Yes.
So I'm going to use, if I have a problem, I'm using Google to go find my answer. I'm using YouTube to figure out. So if I'm calling in or reaching out, it's like the last ditch effort. So the last thing I want to do is to have to go through some clunky system who doesn't know who I am and have to get to a live agent. I am fine with automation, so know who I am, quick and easy. That's my ideal.
I'm trying to not copy Eric. Because, I mean, we grew
We're
up
all
like
in
I
this
said,
space,
we
right?
all
Yeah.
and we all grew up
We're
on the
little-
internet where literally I can have anything I want right
Yes.
here or ask my thermostat on my wall.
Yeah.
Like I can literally ask what the score of the game was last night. But where I'm going to think about it, I'm going to think of it in the lens of my parents. Didn't grow up on the internet. They have it now and they can use it. But like the other day I got a call from them and they were like, hey, I don't even remember the topic. This doesn't work. And I said, well, did you Google it? They're like, well, no, I didn't Google it. Why would I Google it? I go, because everything's in Google. Like that's just the way it goes.
Yeah.
When I think of them and the fact that they need help with things and maybe I'm not around, I want someone to, whatever channel it is, including chat, like they'll be willing to use chat. I want it to be, like I said, know me and remember me, easy. And then if I have to call back for whatever reason, I want you to remember all that again.
Yes.
Because I don't want to have to forget it.
Yep.
And I don't want to have to go through it again. Like it's just, that's the painful stuff. And I don't want to wait on hold for 45 minutes of my life I'll never get back, right?
Yeah.
Because them or me, like it's just one of those things. I want it to be easy. If I do have to talk to a human being, I want the interaction to be transferred to them so that they know what's going on. And it's seamless.
And you know what? Maybe this will be a topic for another day, but bringing up your parents and, the comfort of using technology. I think what's exciting is we used to think about what should the demographics be for automation. And sometimes you would limit it for whatever reason. But now you look at any demographic from very young to older, and everyone is just becoming more accustomed to it and willing to try it. So that makes what
That's a
we
whole
do
30 minutes of my
exactly.
life.
So topic for another day. But
Yeah.
I think that's what's exciting too. Is the target market or target box for automation is expanding. Everyone's becoming more comfortable because it's just so readily available. It's becoming easier to.
Yeah.
What about
Look,
you, David?
the only thing that I would add,
David, you have to answer your own curveball.
I'll agree. I'll agree. I saw the curveball coming, so I stayed back on it. And
there
I'm
you go.
going to
Sat
take
on
it to right field.
There you go.
I would say same thing. Know who I am. Try to predict why I'm calling. Right? Like, you just bought a hat from us. Is this why you're calling?
See, there you go. You're setting off your technology.
Right. So you know who I am. You are trying to predict why I'm calling, and then offer solutions. If those solutions don't work, get me to the right person. So a skilled person that isn't wasting their time on things like you talked about it earlier. Why am I fixing this? This is something that could be self-served. That information is transferred to that person. Hey, David, thank you for calling. I see that you're calling about this hat. You have 14 other hats. What's wrong with this one, right? They've transferred that information to me or to the person that's answered my phone call. That way they can solve it quickly and I can be on my way, right? I would rather interact with a company that is going to fix it quickly, even if like sometimes there's defects, but they say, hey, our bad, no problem. We'll get you on your way. Happy to do that. So I'd say just transfer along the way if it needs to. They know who I am. And for everyone has the information. If I'm transferred to someone else, the whole company at this point knows who I am and why. So that's the ideal
And you brought up another topic for another day, which is we talk a lot about automation, but you mentioned if you get to an agent, they know who you are, but most importantly, they're skilled to solve your challenge. So we talk a lot about keeping, allowing folks to self-serve, automate their transactions, but we know there are critical times, maybe it's by the industry or the company that they need to get to a human agent. Well, first time right, getting to the right agent who's skilled to handle your challenge is critically important. So we can talk about that.
Let's call that the teaser.
The teaser.
That's the teaser for the next episode. So hopefully this wasn't bad. Kind of our first run at this. We'd love for more folks to subscribe, like, share it. We promise to get a little bit better every time. We're gonna try anyway. But thanks for joining us, and we will see you on the next one. Thanks, guys. Yeah, I'm good enough. I can see it enough. Your handwriting sucks, though.
I want to know what a Dursona is.
It sounds like sparkling water.
It does. It's the you know how people say it tastes like plastic? Well, we're just released Dursona.
Tastes like people.
That's getting bad, dude.
Outtakes are gonna be good.
It tastes like people.
Okay.
Again, blooper reel.
Man.